Hello, my name is Adrienne, and I am a speech and language therapist. Today, we're going to be talking about routines and AAC. So I'll start off by talking a little bit about myself and what a routine looks like for me. I am presenting a little bit of a zoomed out routine for my day, but just to kind of give a snapshot of a routine that an adult might have, so we can kind of put this into context and dive into making meaningful routines for our AAC users that we may be supporting. So, I am a speech and language therapist. I've been practicing since 2022. My practice centers on neurodiversity affirmative support for children, play-based care, for all communicators. My day typically starts around 8 a.m. I wake up to my cats staring me in the face and asking me for food. So I get them breakfast first, and then I sit down with my own coffee while I plan out my drives for the day. That in itself, I could probably break up into smaller routines, but that is kind of my morning chunk. Then in the afternoon, I am typically seeing clients between about 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Each of my sessions is about an hour and they're always really fun. They're really engaging. And it really helps me kind of keep my day flowing. I feel like I operate on that kind of hourly basis, even in my free time nowadays. I just have like an internal clock that comes from my years of practice in doing exactly this. After that, I tend to head home and I spend the last hour of my workday wrapping up documentation, emails, text messages, and updating my to-do list, all while snuggling those cats that start asking me for dinner around that time. So, daily routines are going to impact everything in our life. As adults, I think we get really used to our day-to-day practice as we're moving through things. We don't really think about those discrete steps, but it's helpful to kind of slow ourselves down and think about it more in depth because kids will generally start to understand their world through the lens of their daily activities. So when something happens every day or really frequently, they can use that lens to help them anticipate what might be coming next, and it will help them feel more prepared as well. So, what is a routine? A routine is a predictable, daily or nearly daily set of events, and it usually includes multiple steps. It's not just one thing that you do, it's going to be a sequenced event. They may be shorter, something like a diaper change or washing our hands, or they may be longer, like taking a bath or eating a meal. Some routines might be really fun for your child and they might really enjoy it, while other routines might be necessary but a lot less enjoyable. And I'm sure we all kind of know that. So, some examples of routines, things like waking up, changing meals, getting ready to leave or traveling, hanging out, bath time, nap time, running errands, going outdoors. There are lots more that we could add to this list, but these are some basic ones that I, in my practice, have seen be somewhat consistent between families. Everybody wakes up. What does that routine look like? Everybody has to get dressed. What does that look like? Some kids love being outdoors. What does going outdoors together look like? So, these are kind of some of the routines that we see most frequently. Now, why are they important? I've already touched on this a little bit, but just to expand on that point, routines are predictable. They provide a really clear and consistent context for learning. They naturally create repetition because if you're doing it every day or even sometimes multiple times in a day, you are just automatically repeating something that your child can learn. They support cognitive development. Because routines are working with how our brain is processing and functioning and looking at the world, they're supporting overall development. It also supports social development. It allows for anticipation and expectation of daily events, which for some kids is going to reduce the anxiety that they feel when they don't know what's coming next. It also provides great opportunities for connection, even on our busiest days. So, if we are running, running, running all day and we don't have time to slow down and find moments of connection, we can build those into our routines that we would already be doing otherwise, so that we still get that deep connection in our day, even if we don't really have the time for anything beyond that. That's okay. Some days are like that. So let's take this bridge. We're going to head over into speech, language, and communication. So far, what we've talked about is what is a routine? How does it impact our day? How does it impact our learning? But I really want to bring our focus into speech and language and communication with others in our environment. So let's get specific about how routines support language. For one, they're going to model a lot of new vocabulary. When you are doing a routine day to day, what you're going to be talking about in that routine might change slightly. So it gives you lots of opportunities to introduce vocabulary in a familiar context, in a familiar routine. And your child is more likely to understand what you're saying too when you introduce that new vocabulary. It also gives you repetition and predictability with familiar vocabulary. So if we think about spoken routines or verbal routines, as some people might refer to them, it's a way for us to model that vocabulary that we are hoping our child could learn. In that predictable space with them. And they're hearing lots of repetition because we're doing it on a regular basis. It also gives us the opportunity to introduce more complex sentence structure and grammar. And that's because we might be narrating during the routine. And so we can talk about what we're doing, how we're doing it, who's there with us, and we can build that all into the narrative while we're speaking to our child. And while that might be too much in a new place or in an unfamiliar place, in a routine is the perfect time to bring in that slightly more complex language that your child could start to understand. It's also an opportunity for social communication and sharing ideas together and collaborating together. Like I already mentioned, it's a great time to be modeling narrative structure. Like, okay, first we gotta put our seatbelt on, and then we have to close the door. Next, mom's gonna get in the driver's seat. Last, we're gonna start driving. So we're giving that narrative structure inherently as we're moving through the routine together. It's a natural opportunity for emotional language and problem solving. Some routines, like I said, are not so enjoyable. And so some kids are going to be dysregulated or they're going to have feelings come up. And it's a great time to slow down just a little bit and model some of that emotional language and problem solving so you can work together through through that moment and learn that vocabulary as well. It's also a great place for following directions and procedures. I'm not, as an SLP, the kind of provider that would recommend just randomly giving directions to kids, but if we can make it meaningful and use it in a routine together, that's the perfect time to be supporting that receptive language and building those tools together. As a reminder, following directions relies on a lot of things from our brain. It's a hard skill. And I think when we talk about receptive language, we don't always expand out to consider all of these other things that might be involved. A lot of the time, we kind of just say, like, they're showing they understand one-step directions, two-step directions, things like that, but we're not talking about the executive function skills that underlie that or the world knowledge that they need to have to understand. One thing that was shared with me when I was a new clinician that I have carried with me through my career so far is that people don't know anything until they know. And so if it's better to assume that someone just might not know something and help them build that foundation, because they just might not have the experience yet, or they might not have the world knowledge yet. Um, when it comes to executive functioning skills as well, when we're asking like 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds to follow directions, their brain is relying on their working memory, so their ability to take in information and use it functionally in that moment. So their memory is working for them. It relies on their task initiation and execution, their brain's ability to tell the body to go do a thing. It relies on their time management skills, their regulation and awareness of self, their attention, and their perspective taking as well. Understanding that those directions are for me and I need to do something about them. Not everybody has those skills yet, or those skills are emerging. And the thing with executive functioning skills is that they may take a really long time to develop. I think most recently, when I checked in on the research, we were saying like in our 20s or even 30s that our executive functioning skills are still developing and changing. And I'm a strong believer that that's something that is kind of a lifetime skill. We're always adjusting how we're managing our time, how we're managing our attention, how we're supporting ourselves with this long list of skills. So when we're thinking about these little tiny children who are just starting to gain these skills, we have to have a lot of patience, and we might have to give a lot of reminders, visual supports, gestures, models, so that they can be successful when we give them directions. So there's a lot that we can do when it comes to AAC to augment or support overall communication and our ability to participate in routines. We can build up the environment to just be a easier space to function in those routines. So things like visual supports. It might be anything from physical objects, written words or drawings on a whiteboard, printed pictures, or even a quick internet search. I think it's not always at the front of our brain, but we typically have a device near us that we can grab and do a quick search, pull up some pictures and look together. And sometimes that's the key that we need and the missing piece. I also think physical objects are a little underrated. Something that I always do when I start cooking, I pull out everything from the recipe. I need to have my eyes on it. I need to have my hands on it. And that helps me get through the recipe. If I don't do that, I am running around the kitchen, not sure what's coming next, kind of scared of what's coming next, honestly. So I think that that's something that we can model early on for kids, and that can grow with them and they can use it as adults as well. Timers can also be a really great support. Remember that executive functioning is a huge piece when it comes to participating in routines. And executive function includes those time management and attention skills. If we know how long we need to attend to a task, we're more likely to persevere through that time period. And it also helps us understand how long something's going to take too. If we don't have time management skills, and we don't know, we might feel overwhelmed before we even start the task. So, having things like timers, visual schedules, things like that are going to be huge game changers for kids who need that extra support. High-tech AAC pages or static pages that you've printed out can also be really supportive. You can do a core vocabulary board, or you can even do a routine-specific vocabulary board. I think core boards are more generalized, more able to generalize, and we can use them more flexibly. But sometimes it's just useful to have a visual board of choices that you can use for a specific activity. There's not really anything necessarily wrong with that as long as we're considering access to full language on top of that. As always, we want to be personalizing. Visual supports should be made to fit each individual. We don't want to just decide what somebody needs. We might just want to trial it first. If they don't care for it or they don't respond to it, we might want to do maybe one or two more trials. And then if we're still not paying attention or not paying attention, but if we're still not taking to it, then that might not be the right support for us, and there are adjustments that we can make. And I think it's important to remember that we need to just grow as we go. It's okay to just focus on small, manageable changes. One thing at a time, one new button on the device at a time, one new support. It's okay to just introduce one new song that you sing during a routine, one new visual, or just programming a couple buttons at a time. Um, like I feel like this is always kind of a lifetime sort of thing. And I have that perspective that we are going to be making these small changes over a long period of time. And so it's okay to just do what's manageable for us in the moment, because those things add up. And it really does matter on when we think from that kind of whole picture perspective. Small adjustments to our environment can really make a huge difference when it comes to accessing AAC or any type of augmentative tool. Any small changes can really create those opportunities for children to communicate and increase how much they have available to them in the moment as well. So, some of the things that we can do is make printed copies of any kind of printed visual, and make multiple of them. So, not just making one, but maybe making five at a time. Maybe you won't use them, but at least you can put them throughout your house and you can have multiple copies on backup in case you lose one. So, that's what I always do. I'm always printing out multiple of my visual supports. You never know if you're going to lose one, spill something on one, tear one apart, or when you might need to access it in a different room and wow, it's there. We don't have to go travel for that. Um, we also want to check the AAC device daily if we have one. Definitely checking the battery, checking to see if there are any updates, or if there's anything else that the system needs. We should be storing devices and visuals in a familiar area for the person who will be using them. If we're just putting them up on a shelf somewhere, our child just might not know where they are, and therefore they're not going to use them. But if we keep it on the table at eye level, they're more likely to go to it, try it out, explore it. So that's going to create just natural opportunities for it to be available throughout your days and your routines. We want to model anything new that we are adding frequently. If we just go and program one or two new buttons and we don't model it, our child may not know that they're there. So just modeling them frequently and taking that time to build familiarity with whatever tools you are introducing or whatever visuals you're introducing. Whenever possible, we want to keep workspaces clear. That's going to give our executive functioning skills just a little bit of a boost. It's going to help with our regulation and it's going to help with our participation. Of course, it's not always possible, but it's just kind of one way that we can potentially make the environment more accessible. Offering choices and autonomy whenever possible. So even though we keep our routines fairly consistent from a day-to-day basis, we might want to offer options. Do you want to wear the red shirt or the blue shirt today? Do you want the lights on or off? Do you want to try this flavor or that flavor? Whatever we can build in, it's just going to give that sense of ownership to the person that we are working with, and it's going to help them feel like they're taking part in that routine instead of just being shuffled through it. Beyond just kind of the basics of like having an AAC device, having this as a communication tool, we can get creative with AAC too. So we can program or print sequence steps for common things like recipes or games, any daily routine. We can program short videos in some AAC applications, like programming a timer video where the child can then choose to set the timer themselves. We can take pictures of familiar objects, places, and people to program or print. And on a similar vein, we can even take a video or pictures of ourselves completing a routine that we can then put on their device or on a printout. We can create whiteboard pages on some AAC applications, or we can keep just a physical whiteboard nearby somewhere so that we can, in the moment, draw or write our ideas out as well. That's a really great model for emerging literacy learners, and it's a great model for anyone. I think that just showing that value of writing and how writing can be supportive in the moment is sometimes overlooked, and it's worth having a whiteboard on the wall somewhere or like in a shelf that the child can reach or that you can reach and that you use frequently. All right, that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. I do have some resources here. I don't know that these will be clickable on the video, but if you'd like the resource list, please feel free to reach out and I would be happy to send it your way. All right, thank you.